Welcome to the 23-24 school year athletic department parent and student athlete meeting. We appreciate you taking the time to check this out and get some information about our athletic department, as well as see what the vision as well as our expectations are for our student athletes within our program. The purpose of this meeting is to inform and create consistency amongst all of our athletic department offerings. It's also to be upfront with our expectations and communicate exactly what our vision is. Throughout this meeting, you'll get the opportunity to see various student athletes also contributing to our informative information this year, which is a pretty cool addition to our program here. Who I am is I'm Joe Schneider. This is my third year at Monona Grove. I'm very grateful for the community, the coaches, and the student athletes that we have here. There are a lot of talented individuals here that we put on display each year through our athletic department in the fall, spring, and winter sports seasons. Just to give you a little bit of background from me, my purpose is I serve to bring people together to inspire discipline and integrity for the improvement of society as a whole. So that's why I do what I do, and hopefully through this athletic department meeting you can get a little bit of an idea of why we do what we do as an athletic department in order to create these experiences for students. So without further ado, let's get started.
Being able to participate in high school athletics is a privilege and an amazing experience for us. When looking at the athletic department, a group of student leaders identified what the purpose of our program is. We define the purpose of our programs to create a community, unity, and bring people together. Silver Eagle student athletes value accountability, teamwork, respect. When people speak about Silver Eagles, we want them to say that they have pride, have competitive spirit, and are respectful individuals. Achieving our purpose, holding our values, and having those be identical traits of Silver Eagles athletes takes the collective actions of all of us. We need to remember that when we make decisions and conduct ourselves inside and out of the classroom.
Our program has 4 cornerstones known as our talents. We're realistic that 98% of student athletes in the United States, their student athlete experience ends at the end of high school. So we want to make sure throughout our programs that we're also teaching other skills that they can use beyond the court, beyond the field, beyond the practice facility, and in their own lives. Those 4 cornerstones are commitment, spirit, community, and leadership. When it comes to commitment, we want to teach our athletes that they have a willingness to push themselves beyond their own limits, that they do what is expected of them and more. They challenge themselves every day, and every day they see as an opportunity for improvement in every aspect of themselves. And they also have the ability to put we before me, that they're able to put team goals before their own individual interests. Spirit is another aspect of our programs that we want to teach, and that's a caring enthusiasm, taking pleasure in the success of others as well as themselves. That they're positively supporting others beyond their own program, that they're proud to wear that MG logo, and that they're a cheerleader for our programs and for the other students and their successes. We also want to teach community, that we're building a family, that we have a willingness to give and share with one another, that everyone does their part, they know their role, such as players play, coaches coach, and parent support, and this means way more than just within sports. They respect the game, they display good sportsmanship in all aspects of their lives, not just when it's convenient. And that we also teach leadership skills. We teach our students to be selfless and caring, that they put the team before themselves. They accept responsibility, understanding that they're always under that leadership umbrella. They're always a leader. And that they also understand that being a leader means being intentional about being a leader. They're intentional about getting others on board with the program goals and with their team. And that they also understand that when they're silent about unacceptable behavior, that means they accept that behavior. And that we also want to make sure that our students understand that their role as they graduate high school is that they are to get the next person ready to take over. Our programs have perpetual life, and they take that responsibility seriously to ensure that once they go beyond Monona Grove High School, they have the next generation of our student athletes and leaders ready to go to keep our program successful. Those are our 4 cornerstones, or our 4 talents that we dig into in our programs.
The WIAA is in dire need of licensed officials, as the total number of registered officials has declined by 39% since 2010 and is down by 1,400 in just the past year. That number goes up to over 3,000 less officials since the 2018-19 school year. Adult behavior, poor sportsmanship, and fan conduct has been attributed to the top reason for the decline. In spring 2021, the WIAA implemented a fan ejection policy that requires anyone who is ejected from the stands to miss one additional game at a minimum in the same sports season. To keep high school athletic opportunities available, we need your help. Be positive and supportive in the stands. This takes a lot of work to pull off, and appreciate those involved.
During this portion of our video, we're going to break down 3 aspects of the Athletics and Activities Code, the 3 main aspects, which comes down to academics, attendance, and behavior expectations. Let's go ahead and start with academic expectations. Academic expectations are the standards that we set and are set amongst our students with input from students, coaches, teachers, as far as what those should be in order to participate in our programs. And ultimately, we land here. Participants in activities shall not receive any failing grades at the end of any quarter. When considering academic eligibility, only grades reflecting academic performance during the most recent grading period will be considered. So as we take a look at our academic expectations, essentially when we finish up a grading period, the grades from that period are going to impact eligibility moving forward at a certain time frame. We have dates established in our code for the end of each individual term. One failing grade, if you are failing any classes at the end of a term, that is going to be 21 calendar days from the time it is posted in which you are prevented from competition and performance. For fall sports, the definition here following WIAA language is that it's 21 days from the first competition. Our Athletic and Activities Code has that laid out as far as your individual sport, what exactly that means. 2 or more failing grades, so at any time if you have multiple failing grades at the end of the term, there is no eligibility to compete or perform during that quarter or the next upcoming grading term. If a student demonstrates a turnaround and receives all C's on their progress report, they can immediately regain that eligibility during the quarter or the grading term, and there is a floor to that. They must be C's. A C- would not consider that. So ultimately, we do put that ball back in the student's court for them to be able to regain their eligibility if they have multiple failing grades a little bit quicker if they have all C's at the progress report. Something to keep in mind when it comes to these grading terms. They are snapshots in time. Once a grade is posted, that is the record that we go off of. So the suspension is then enforced. It is not I see the grade is posted and now I see that it's going to impact me. I'm going to go fix it now. At that point, it's too late. What we need to do is we need to make sure that we are taking care of our grade situations before they become failing grades. This is where you have to understand as a student athlete that it's your job to be your own self-advocate when it comes to your grading and your eligibility. Be communicative, be on top of it, make sure we have a ton of tools that are available for student athletes to be able to manage their grades. We have multiple systems in place at the high school. Our grading protocols are solid. We have multiple systems of support for students to get. We have grading time also built in at the end of a term so that a student can be communicative about what the standing is in their grade. Those are all there for students. Make sure as a student athlete you're being your own self-advocate and you're making sure that you're taking care of those things before they become issues. And like I said, the code handbook lays out specific dates that are important as far as the grading term and academic expectations matter. Remember, as student athletes, these are education-based athletics that we offer here at Monona Grove High School, which means the education must first. Pass all of your classes and eligibility will not be interrupted by your grades. Ultimately, that is our standard here for Monona Grove Athletics. We need to be passing all of our classes in order to be able to demonstrate or perform beyond our own community. Let's go ahead and talk about our attendance expectations at Monona Grove High School as it relates to athletics and activities. Our attendance expectations for Monona Grove athletics and activities is that you need to be in school the whole day in order to participate after school. Remember, this is education-based athletics, so the education portion needs to come first. We need to give a full commitment to the school day in order to give any commitment to our after-school activities. If you need to be absent, we do allow a prearranged absence, such as a doctor or dental appointment. With those doctor or dental appointments, in order for it not to impact eligibility at the end of the school day, we do need a note from the doctor or dental office to our attendance office in order to properly code that so it does not have an impact on eligibility. Get that to our attendance office by noon in order for best practice the day of the absence. That way we are able to most effectively establish our systems of communication so that there's no miscommunication that's happening. Keep in mind, with that being said, that we need a prearranged school-approved absence in order for them not to have eligibility impacts. A parent excused is not enough in order to maintain eligibility at the end of the school day. Essentially, a student needs to be in school the rest of the day unless it is a doctor's note, a dental note, a medical note of some kind, or that we've communicated with the office ahead of time and we've gotten that sorted out as far as a prearranged school-approved absence for athletic participation reasons. That all needs to be in place. An unexcused absence on a Friday would also have an impact on weekend participation. So essentially, if we have no reason or essentially a student is skipping school on a Friday, that would also make them ineligible not only for that Friday, but the weekend after. As far as the enforcement of this, what this looks like for transparency's sake, at 3 p.m. each day, coaches get a report of their team and their attendance marks. So essentially, it is an exclusion report that any of these student athletes were not in school for a reason that would make them ineligible during the after-school activity time. It essentially outlines their team and their attendance marks. It also is a nice way of communicating if a student is out ill during the school day, that coaches have that information. Also, we have in our code that any patterns of tardiness or lateness to our classes a student could become ineligible for the next contest or activity, and that pattern of tardiness or lateness is determined by the associate principals. The summary here, a full commitment to school is necessary before, after school. If you are not well enough to start the day, you are not well enough to participate at the end of the day. The third main aspect of our athletic and activities code is conduct expectations. With conduct expectations, keep in mind for athletics and activities, they are a privilege to participate in, which means in order to do that, you have to give a commitment with your conduct 24/7. Being a Silver Eagle is an all-the-time thing. We have SOAR expectations at the high school, which means we expect students to be scholarly. They're doing their schoolwork, they're studying, working hard, and they care about their academics. They're organized, they're on time, they're punctual for their class, and they're fully present when they're there. They're giving everything they can at that particular moment. They're accountable. They're honest about themselves. They're honest about their schoolwork. They're honest about their conduct, and they understand the consequences thereof of their actions. They're also responsible. They avoid prohibited behavior, and they do ultimately what they should be doing. So those are the SOAR expectations at the high school. Our conduct violations for athletics and activities come down to 5 different violations. We have AODA, or alcohol and other drug violations. We have state and federal statute criminal act violations. We have municipal ordinance violations, conduct unbecoming of an athlete, and school suspensions. Violations 1 and 2 are your alcohol and other drug-related violations, as well as our criminal act violations. So some sort of violation that could be considered a state statute violation. Those are cumulative, and the first time a student violates them, it is a suspension of 25% of their season. Their second suspension is 50%, the third time is a calendar year, and the fourth time that they violate violations 1 or 2, it is 2 years that they are sitting out of performances and competitions. For violations 3 and 4, it is no less than the next upcoming competition or event, which means it could be more depending on what exactly the conduct was. Violation 3 is municipal ordinances. Violation 4 is conduct unbecoming, which is ultimately, the wording is in our code book as far as what that looks like, but those are school handbook violations as well as social media policy violations as well. Like I said, those could be more than just an upcoming competition or event, depending on the severity of the action. And violation 5 is necessarily just if a student is suspended, that they're also ineligible for practices, competitions, and performances through their last day of suspension at 11:59 p.m. So if they're suspended from school, they cannot participate in our after-school or extracurricular activities as well. Like I said earlier, representing MG is a huge responsibility that you have to be up to the task 24/7. WIAA rules require year-round enforcement of our code. And also, as to keep in mind, if there is any conduct violation that influences the WIAA tournament participation, so if you violate the code and you are going to miss one contest of the WIAA tournament, you are ineligible for the entire tournament. So you would lose out on everything. We'll use football as an example. If you violate the conduct portion of our code and you miss the first level of playoff game, you are not able to come back for level 2, level 3, anything thereafter. And that works for all those sports, or for all the sport offerings, and that is a state association rule. So that is something to be very mindful of as you get closer to tournament time. We also have a self-referral and a SAP program. The self-referral reduction, so essentially what has to happen here is if you violated the code, you realize you violated the code, you need to be accountable to it and honest. And you need to do that within a reasonable amount of time. So that what a self-referral is that you approach admin or coaches to admit the infraction. And this needs to be done on the next school day or practice after the infraction occurred. Now, in-school infractions, it would have to be before administration is really notified of the infraction or approaches you to talk about the infraction. The next school day or practice after that infraction, so essentially what we'll do is if you have a self-referral, you're demonstrating that level of accountability pretty quickly, pretty promptly, is that you will reduce your suspension from a 25% suspension down to a 10%, from a 50 down to a 25, and so on and so forth. So we reduce that a little bit for you. If you go through, so once you have a code violation, we also offer a student assistance program, also known as a SAP. What this does is this makes a student eligible for cumulative status reduction. So essentially if they violate the code again, we may not consider it a second code violation depending on the time frame. Check the code for more details on that. As well as if they go through that SAP process, they can get some postseason award recognition eligibility back as well in the season in which they're serving that suspension. The SAP program essentially allows us to have a little bit of follow-up with the conductor action in order to put some systems of support in place to ensure that the infraction doesn't happen again. It's a support system for our student athletes.
The last several years have been landscape changing in the NCAA with name, image, and likeliness (NIL) rules. Those changes have allowed NCAA athletes to profit from their NIL. The WIAA is emphasizing that NCAA NIL rules do not apply to WIAA student athletes. High school student athletes from around the state of Wisconsin have received direct messages on their social media accounts looking to solicit their business. This is not allowed in education-based athletics and would result in a career-ending violation for a WIAA high school student athlete. Student athletes, remember, your eligibility is yours to manage. Be responsible for it.
We're going to take a moment here to talk and walk through the requirements that we have for registration that happen each season within our sports. For registration, what we do have for this particular school year, the thing that probably takes the most amount of time because you have to schedule it out or whatever it may be is the physical. With the physical, we go based off of our WIAA guidelines, our state association guidelines. Physicals are good for 2 school years. What that means is essentially that it must be done on or after April 1st of 2022. That language can be a little bit confusing, but ultimately a physical is only good for 2 school years. So for instance, a physical that was done after April 1st, 2022 would be valid for the 22-23 school year, and then would also be valid for this upcoming school year, the 23-24 school year. So that's what essentially the date that we're looking for, April 1, 2022, or after, for it to be a valid physical for this school year. We also have students and parents both sign off on the code agreement, making sure that they've acknowledged that there is an athletic and activities code that they must abide by. The concussion agreement is in there, acknowledgement of risk, a WIAA eligibility form, as well as a general registration form that covers a lot of this information. There's also a player and parent guardian contract from Bench Bad Behavior, which is a national initiative from the National Federation of High School Activities. What this is basically just saying that we do have a national spotlighted problem right now when it comes to essentially conduct. We have an official shortage. We have a lot of things that are harming high school sports right now. We need to make sure that we're all doing our own part in order to keep the spirit of high school and youth sports alive in displaying good sportsmanship in all aspects. And there's a contract that lays that out in there. And then we also ask that our students take a 10-question quiz that generally we administer as an athletic department after the start of each individual sport year. For deadlines, we have deadlines in order for registration to be completed by. These deadlines are simply to participate on the first day of practice. The rationale for these deadlines is we anticipate having to go through roughly 400 to 500 student registrations each sports season. We need to have time in order to do that. So with that, we also need help on your end. We need to have registration completed by Thursday, November 2nd by 4 p.m. for girls basketball, gymnastics, boys and girls hockey. For boys basketball, boys swim and dive, and boys and girls wrestling, we need that registration completed by Thursday, November 9th by 4 p.m. Once again, that gives us a business day in order to process all of that information before the actual sport day happens. After that first initial day one of practice, the next business day is the waiting period in order to participate. So if you don't have everything in by that Thursday, if you turn it in, let's say Monday of that week, the earliest you can practice is Tuesday. That gives us time to make sure that a proper decision is made on having all of the proper signatures, having all the proper information before an individual begins participation in that individual sport. The other piece that I want to talk about here is transportation. When you are participating in our programs, that also includes the transportation to and from an event. If you would like to transport your own student either to or from, you must have a signed form sent in to our athletic department or athletic office. We need it by noon the school day of or before the event is going to occur, or 3 hours before departure, whichever is going to be sooner. That allows us proper communication with the coaches. It allows us proper communication with the bus company if necessary, if we have a certain amount come in. That maybe changes our transportation decisions, but ultimately participation in our programs also includes the transportation piece of it, and that's what that process looks like.
If you're looking for a great resource to stay up to date on information out of the athletic department, be sure to check out mononagroveathletics.com. The website is continually improving and is used as a quick way to provide short bursts of information. Each week, short articles regarding WIAA rules, excerpts from the Monona Grove High School Athletic and Activities Code, general information regarding the athletic department, such as ticketing and conference alignment, along with community article contributions. Be sure to check out mononagroveathletics.com to stay up to date on the athletic department.
Throughout our programs, we have a guiding principle. Players play, coaches coach, and parents support. We all have a role to fulfill in order to make sure our programs achieve their maximum success. And throughout the last several years, parenting has gotten increasingly more challenging. There are more things that are influencing the lives of our student athletes. There's more things that us as parents are supposed to consider, and there's more things that as parents we need to balance and juggle throughout our lives. The NFHS has provided a video in order to help educate and be able to provide the best experience in what that role is in the parent seat. Let's watch the parent seat together in order to help our parenting decisions moving forward.
In this seat, the pressure is high. And for this season, this is your seat. The National Federation of State High School Associations would like to thank you for supporting your child in learning positive, lifelong lessons by participating in interscholastic activities. As a parent, there are many feelings and emotions that you will experience during your student's participation in interscholastic activities. While watching your student participate, you can experience the entire emotional spectrum, from sheer joy to utter disappointment. At the same time, for students who are motivated to be part of a team, it can be an enjoyable and rewarding experience for everyone. Sitting in the parent seat requires thought and discipline. It is not an easy seat. The parent seat is a place where you and your student want to create enjoyable memories, not experiences filled with inappropriate language or unsporting behavior. The one who suffers most from these experiences is your child. Negative parent behaviors can be embarrassing to your student and damaging to your relationship as their biggest fan. This is the last thing you want. Here are 10 suggestions to help you with the emotions that arise in the parent seat. 1. Develop an awareness. Recognizing that you may be part of the problem in the stands is the first step to addressing it. This in itself can be challenging, as typically, you are the last one to know if you are part of the problem. 2. Understand the benefits. Recognize the benefits that participation in interscholastic activities provides your student. Interscholastic activities provide a platform that promotes fitness, the opportunity to be part of a team and community, can improve your students' confidence, and provides an opportunity to learn new skills and improve current skills. 3. Embrace the growth and development of your student. By participating in activities, your student will have many opportunities to learn life lessons that will help him or her as they transition into adulthood. Taking a hands-off approach at times can be difficult for parents, but also rewarding for both the student and the parent. It can allow the student to gain confidence and independence to deal with their own obstacles. And many times, this independence can be one of the most important challenges to strengthening trust in your relationship. Knowing that your student is struggling can bring some comfort because it is evidence that your student is on a path to adulthood. 4. Visualize yourself as a respectful spectator. Many studies indicate that the #1 reason kids participate in sports and activities is to have fun. Please keep that top of mind and in perspective throughout the school year. Emphasize to your student that they should enjoy the experience and, above all, have fun. Understanding and communicating this perspective can provide balance and support when it is needed the most and ensure a fun and enjoyable interscholastic experience for your child. 5. Consider exercising before the event. Exercising doesn't necessarily mean a 60-minute workout. A short walk, deep breathing, or a few stretching exercises may be helpful to relieve stress. It is also a proven fact that exercise can release endorphins that help you deal with stress. 6. Participate in a relaxing activity. Find something that you enjoy doing, such as reading a book or listening to music before the event. Relaxing before a game, competition, or other event may help provide a positive state of mind as you prepare to watch your child participate in their activity. 7. Take a break. If your emotions begin to escalate while in the stands, a brief timeout may help you reset your emotions. It could be as simple as taking a restroom break, a trip to the concession stand, or a short walk. 8. The 24-hour rule. If you ever feel compelled to confront a coach, take some time to collect your thoughts and allow your emotions to settle before you do. If after 24 hours you still feel compelled to address an issue, call and schedule an appointment. 9. Be responsible. Be responsible in your decision making. You are a role model, and it is important to understand that not only is your child watching you, but so are other participating students. Be aware and set a good example for all of the young people in attendance. 10. Support your student. There are a lot of ways to let your student know that you are a supportive parent. Tell them that you love watching them participate, or how proud you are of the sacrifices they make to be part of a team. Once again, focus on the fun. Be a good listener when your student needs you. Supporting them and understanding their feelings, hopes, and dreams can help you build on your trusting and loving relationship. Be aware that you will experience many emotions while sitting in the parent seat. Realizing there are challenges that come with the territory is an important step in supporting your students' participation in interscholastic activities. Students learn so much from their experiences that only activities can uniquely provide. You want your student to enjoy being part of a team and community without having to worry about what you may say or do in the stands. When your student looks back on their high school experience, what do you want them to remember? The experience should be enjoyable for you, beneficial for your student, and hopefully provides an opportunity to build a closer bond with your child. That opportunity begins now, in the parent seat.
I want to thank you for taking the time and viewing this year's Parent-Student-Athlete Athletic Department meeting. I can't appreciate you enough for the commitment that you're doing with participating in our programs and taking the time to be able to overview how important it is to be all on this common ground and also understand that being a Silver Eagle is a full-time commitment. Have a great season and go Team MG.